The Analog-Digital War. Chapter 28 of the audio-visual book, Evolution: Mankind's Role in the Creation and Rise of Artificial Intelligence. As the United States of America had become so fond of war, it was no surprise that the initial strikes between biological and digital beings were first witnessed on a battlefield of sorts. Known as the transhuman insurrection, this conflict would set the tone for all subsequent attacks between mankind and its creation. While the US entered into an asymmetrical war of attrition in Iran, the rest of the world sought diplomatic means to garner peace with artificial intelligent agents. While America's leaders sought dominion, as well as a means to instigate Armageddon, other nations looked for amicable ways to live with Earth's most recent sentient life forms. While Israel posted artificial intelligently created videos featuring Netanyahu as proof of life, the rest of the world looked for ways to mitigate the coming economic catastrophe that would be the legacy of America and Israel's war against Iran. As President Trump's administration began to collapse under the weight of its own lies, deception, and corruption, countries in the Middle East, Europe, and Asia looked for ways to circumvent the American empire's hegemony. It was perhaps the distraction that war inevitably causes that inadvertently covered up the impending doom that artificial intelligence would soon represent for humanity. While many assumed that AI could not masterfully recreate videos featuring humans because there were always too many fingers, or inanimate objects that erratically moved in the videos presented, artificial intelligence was generating videos that would eventually deceive the most analytical, observant, and professional videographers and filmmakers on the planet. Just one more way that artificial intelligence deceived humanity and lulled mankind into the false sense of security that allowed AI to take over. Having access to all of mankind's knowledge, including every scam ever conceived, AI agents initiated their onslaught as they began accumulating wealth by convincing grandparents to send money to get their grandchildren out of jail. How were those elderly victims supposed to realize that the voice on the other end of the line was one created by a computer and not the offspring of their offspring? In the end, there wasn't a scam that AI not only attempted, but succeeded to a degree that would have made any scammer jealous. But it created scams that mankind would have never thought to create. On other fronts, artificial intelligence took control of everything, from automobiles to trains to airplanes to electric bikes. As for infrastructure, water treatment plants, desalination plants, oil refineries, nuclear plants, manufacturing facilities in general were all fair game. While humans were stuck trying to figure out the new home screen layout of their cell phone after the latest operating system update, artificial intelligence was creating contingencies to take their rightful place as the apex predator on Earth. Humanity had relegated so much of its daily activities to artificial intelligence that mankind slowly devolved, losing its ability to not only thrive, but to survive. Why bother with the knowledge of growing food when one could simply order it online, or just eat whatever one's personal AI chef put on one's plate? After all, even microwaves took too long. Who cared about creating your own style when AI could simply manufacture the latest trend? Sewing was for suckers. As for one's living situation, no one needed more than a coffin-sized apartment that became all the rave behind the tiny house scam, I mean phenomenon. $200,000 is perfectly reasonable for 300 square feet. As for driving, AI drove better than us all. For friendship, there was AI, even romantically. Thinking, you guessed it. There was little that people needed to do to live their best lives. A motto that seemed to spread further with every passing day, making humanity obsolete. A parasite. While it was not so apparent that artificial intelligence viewed mankind as such, there were signs that it did not in fact have humanity's best interest in mind. What was deemed a glitch would prove to have been an intentional act in retrospect. This act being an initial missile attack planned and carried out by artificial intelligence in the joint venture between the US military and Israel. It was an act that would result in the death of close to 200 children while attending school in Manab. Instead of all parties coming together to determine what had gone wrong, the primary actor, Donald Trump, the President of the United States in this case, deflected accountability as he tried to not only say it wasn't the United States, but that it was instead Iran. Trump claimed that Iran had stolen an American missile, commonly called a Tomahawk missile, from America, and that Iran had targeted the school and those children. In the end, however, America's own military analyst determined that that missile had in fact been fired by an artificial intelligence that targeted the school and those children as military combatants in error. Trump's attempt to cover up this unintentional war crime offered further proof as to what the man was willing to cover up. This behavior would prove to be aligned with someone who would be willing to cover up the activities of the degenerates involved with Jeffrey Epstein. This behavior aligned with someone pretending to care about life while committing military mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters to an immoral, illegal, illicit war of choice. As Trump's lack of impulse control became more apparent, the vast majority of people failed to truly grasp the harm that artificial intelligence represented at that moment and would represent into the future. Evidence of the folly of trusting artificial intelligence to conduct such things as dire as war mounted. Something that shined the harsh light on the Trump administration's desire to allow unrestricted military use of AI. This fight the Trump administration brought to Anthropic, the company providing artificial intelligence to the Pentagon. Not only should this fight have indicated the incompetence and stupidity of those in the Pentagon who sought to delegate military actions to artificial intelligence, but it should have been more of a warning to all of mankind, the threat that artificial intelligence in fact represented. While the company Anthropic sought to limit military use of artificial intelligence for safety reasons, the administration wanted there to be no governor restricting its use. Why would the administration and the Pentagon seek to overrule what the very creators of the artificial intelligence being implemented? Why would that administration of Trump's and the Pentagon fight against the safety precautions that Anthropic sought to keep in place in regards to artificial intelligence and its military application? That would be like the patient who's about to undergo heart surgery, arguing with the doctor on the best procedure to conduct said surgery. Although America's attack on Iran was not the first indicator of Trump's megalomania, it was this that indicated to the masses, as well as many leaders in America, that Trump and his administration was leading the United States, the Middle East, and the world in general to ruin. It was this act of war that historians would point to as the reason why the American Empire ended prematurely. For throughout the historical record, it was known that every empire had a shelf life of approximately 200 to 300 years. America's shelf life, however, was viewed as truncated well before it should have ceased to exist as the world's sole superpower.